Hey guys, how's it going? And welcome to how to buy your first acoustic guitar the right way. Well, whatever you've heard on the internet, unless it's the exact same thing I'm going to tell you, ignore them all. Because from what I found on videos, I found one or two that had one real major thing correct. Size matters. And if you think it doesn't, think again. If your guitar is too big for you or too small for you, you're going to have a real hard time learning how to play guitar even effectively. And if you do manage to learn on a smaller guitar, it's going to take you probably 3 to 5 times longer than what it should. Okay? Now, the other thing too is I guarantee you this much. Not everybody is capable of learning how to play guitar. Okay? There's going to be tons of you people that want to play, but you will not ever be able to play because you just don't have the skill. You don't have the capability. You don't have it in your DNA, your blood, your soul, anywhere to be able to play guitar. However, you might do really well on piano, you might do really well on a trumpet or a flute or some other instrument. Maybe you're a bass guitar player, okay? Who knows? But you might not be a 6-string guitar player, okay? Electric or acoustic, okay? That's something that you're going to find out as time goes on. Now, when it comes to learning guitar, one thing I like to stress on people is, to a certain point, it is no pain, no gain, okay? I mean, you're getting your fingers to do something that they're generally not meant to do, and that's to have callus on the fingertips. So it's a little bit of an experience and discomfort, and can be painful if done incorrectly. You will have pain, and very bad pain, on your fingertips till your calluses are built. And this usually occurs because people buy the wrong kind of a guitar, okay? These guitars that they sell in like Future Shop, Best Buy, the Source during the winter season, Radio Shack, Kmart, Woolco, Walmart, Kresge's, wherever they happen to sell guitars in department stores. These are the wrong places to buy guitars. They're not set up right, they're not even built right. To get them to get set up right is going to be a very expensive process, okay? And a lot of work, and in the end, what have you done? You spent way too much money on that guitar just so that you, if you're an adult playing, or you're a kid, or you're a teenager, it's just ludicrous and stupid, okay? Now, if you buy a guitar from a reputable music store, you can buy a guitar for pretty much the same kind of money as you would spend in, say, Sears. Sears sells their most expensive acoustic is about 140 bucks almost. So here's $140 all day long at Long & McQuaid Music, okay? And Long & McQuaid has a lot of branches, and they are a very reputable place to buy from. However, you need to go into their store regardless to size yourself up. They can't size you up over the phone. Nobody can. Okay? So, you need to be properly sized. You need to go to a music store. Now, there are a lot of music stores, and there are a lot of good music stores, and there are a lot of bad music stores. And one of the prime examples of a bad music store is one that would tell you, don't buy anything with a laminated top, they're garbage. Okay, of course, then that means they wouldn't be carrying anything with a laminated top, right? So all their guitars are basically going to be very pricey guitars, and they're probably going to start up at around 300 bucks, because that's about the kind of money you can expect to put out for something with a solid spruce top, right? Is about the $300 price range. That still doesn't make it a good guitar for $300 either. There's a lot of things you got to look at when you're looking at guitars. However, in general, for 300 bucks you can still get a really good playing guitar. But you shouldn't be spending that kind of money initially, okay? You're a beginner, you know absolutely squat, you don't even know if you can play guitar yet, okay? And there's a good possibility you won't be able to, even with the right size guitar. Just because you got the right size guitar, you got the right thickness of pick, does not mean you will ever be able to play that instrument. So just be prepared that this can happen, okay? Now, I'm going to give you the best example of the best pick on the planet as far as I'm concerned. This is a Jim Dunlop 0.38 millimeter pick. This is the pick that I end up always putting all my students into, because the picks that they were sold are totally useless. It's hindering them from being able to learn properly. a pick can stop you as well, not just the wrong size guitar. The reason why the .38 is one of my favorite picks is because it is super, super thin and flexible. Okay? And you're not going to break strings. Okay? You're going to have an easy time learning how to strum different patterns if you have the right pick. Okay? Very important. So if you've got the right thinness of pick, or thickness of pick, the proper thickness, and you've got a guitar that fits you properly, and you have a guitar that is also set up properly. Now here's where it needs to be set up. Initially, I don't care what style of music you want to play. It doesn't matter, because right now you don't even play anything. Okay? You need to walk out of that music store with your neck being adjusted with your action, so string height off of the top of the fret wires, as low as they can possibly get it without string buzz. Okay? Now, if that is done and done correctly, it should take about 3 days. Okay? Maybe even 2 days, depending on where it is initially, but you need it as low as it can be done without string buzz. Why? Well, I tell everybody in my first lesson on YouTube called The Talk, no pain, no gain. You have no callus in your fingertips, so they're going to be sensitive, okay? So the lower your action is, the less pressure you need to apply to the neck to make a chord, like a D, for example, or a C, and so on, right? So, the less pressure you have to put on, the less it's going to hurt your fingers. So the less discomfort's going to happen, right? So, you can buy a really decent guitar if it's set up properly for under $200 from a music store. But from Walmart or any of those other department stores, you can spend the same amount of money, and more in fact, and you're going to be walking out of there with, I guarantee you, a piece of junk guitars that are not set up right. It's in order to get them set up right, none of these stores know how to do that. You have to take it to a music store and pay them to set it up, if it can even be set up right. And one of the biggest problems with these dirt cheap baggy guitars from these department stores is the fret edges are really rough. Okay? Now the fret edges on this thing have a little bit of burr, which is actually quite acceptable. Okay? And it's not going to harm you. However, the burr that can occur from some of those guitars at department stores can slice your fingers over and send you to the ER for stitches. So, really, you want to spend time in the ER with your kid, or are you being the person in the ER? Or would you rather just go and buy a nice guitar at a music store for the same amount of money, you know, or maybe a couple of dollars more and get something like 500% better, okay? So, it makes a huge difference. There's nothing wrong with laminated tops on guitars. In fact, your very first guitar that you buy, and if you continue to play, well, it should only last you about probably 2 years tops, and you're going to definitely want to upgrade after that, because your skill level says that you've now earned that, okay, provided you have the skills. See, there's more to it than having the right guitar, the right setup on the guitar, and the right pick. It's the discipline, the determination, the ambition to play, okay? Now I always tell my students, 10 to 15 minutes tops every single day. See you next week, okay? If they do their job right, and they do the practicing right, and they practice what I'm teaching them to do, because some of them don't, actually a lot of them don't, because they just want to do their own thing, then their skill level should be a noticeable increase even after the first lesson, okay? If it is not, then they haven't done the do's, okay? They're doing all the don'ts, but they're not doing any of the do's, right? Or it could be they just don't have any skill, period. So, but anybody that even shows promise after the first lesson has got a pretty good shot at doing this. And I can usually tell, even after the first lesson, if somebody should be able to pull this off or not. Because, see, guitar isn't for everybody. That's the thing. Not everybody can play guitar. If that was the case, we'd have over 7 billion people on the planet who really like guitars, and they'd all be playing guitars, and that is impossible. It does not happen. Okay, it can't happen. It's not allowed to happen. DNA won't allow it, physics won't allow it, the friggin' universe will not allow it to happen. Okay, so therefore, you're gonna have a high failure rate and a low success rate when it comes to the guitar itself. And that's just one out of dozens upon dozens of instruments that we have on this planet. Okay, so you may be in the ones that will succeed, or you could be in the failure. However, if you give up after, say, a month or 2 months or 3 months, well then, you don't deserve to play. Okay, you need to give it 6 months, and you need to give it more than 10 minutes a day. First 2 weeks is 10 to 15 minutes a day. Do not give your guitar the death grip, no matter how well it's set up, or you're going to still hurt yourself, and it's going to discourage you from wanting to play. You only need enough pressure on a properly set up guitar to make the chord sound. That's all you need. Okay, if you give it the death grip, how are you going to slide up when you need to, right? But if you don't have to give it the death grip, right? You can move real super fast across the fretboard, right? Because you don't need to exert as much force. But if you're squeezing with the death grip, you're going to screw up a lot because you're like, you know, try to force it. You don't need to force it. If it's set up right, you won't need to force it. You should barely have to touch the strings at all. Now it is true that it is more pressure to make a chord on an acoustic than it is an electric. However, you have the right setup and they're very close to being even, okay? Very close. But you need it set up with the lowest action possible without fret buzz, okay? Now, you got the right pick, you got the right size guitar, the guitar is set up properly the way it should be. You got some good tuners on this thing, okay? These are the good tuners. This is what I want you to go and make sure you buy with your guitar. Get some with good tuners, alright? It'll stay in tune better, it'll tune better, okay? And there is a little bit of maintenance you need to be, you know, note about on these kind of tuners. These are adjustable heads, okay? And you don't want to torque them down tight or you're going to break the washers in here and then you're going to be replacing your whole tuner if they don't have spare parts. Usually in cheap guitars there's no spare parts, you just replace the whole tuner, right? Anyways, so this is adjustable here for tension so that it doesn't run too loose, otherwise it won't stay in tune, right? These are sealed, permanently lubricated tuners that are able to be maintained as they wear. No other tuners do this unless they're set up like this, okay? So, being that, alright, each tuner has one screw that holds it in on the back of the guitar. On the front, there's a nut sleeve. Okay, that sleeve is actually pretty long and it's threaded and it threads into the other end of the tuner, and these from time to time need to be snugged up a little bit with the proper size, proper fitting wrench. Okay, so depending on how big your nuts are, depends on the size of wrench you're going to require to properly fit that nut, and that washer has to be there too, and they got to be snugged up because that's what keeps things up, keeps the pressure up, keeps things in tune better. Okay, now I'm not even going to get into bone nuts or bone bridges, saddles or any of that stuff because you're not going to get bone hardware on a $200 guitar brand new. Okay, so not likely anyways. You might if you live in the States, but in Canada here, no, that's not going to happen. Okay, but I've got a plastic nut, I've got a plastic saddle, I've got plastic pegs. It doesn't matter, okay? It does not matter right now, okay? Right now, you need a guitar that's inexpensive, extremely playable, and of a decent quality. Now, I would recommend for those full-size players this one. This is the DD44SL from Denver. You can get the DD44S, which is the right-handed version, so for those righties out there, okay? You can also buy Yamahas, Fenders, okay? Cort, all within a $200 range, alright? Now, your purchase is, we'll say, up to 200 bucks. Now, for 140 bucks, you know, plus a tuner, because you're going to need to learn how to tune your guitar properly, so you need a tuner, okay? And I like these clip-on ones, they work really well. I also have about 4 other types of tuners here too, that I use for other things, with my electrics and stuff. And but one of these, you know, cheap Ibanez tuners are about 10 to 15 bucks, you know, type of thing. So you don't have to spend a lot of money to get a decent little tuner to get you tuned up. And then you're going to need a chord chart. Even if you're taking lessons from a teacher, you need your own materials. It's not up to the teacher to supply you anything, okay? I don't, and I don't know any other teachers that supply materials, unless the student, of course, is paying for those materials on top of the lessons, in which case the teacher will sell you a chord book, they'll sell you whatever, okay? But I don't sell anything because I don't do that. It's like, go to the music store, get this, this, and this, you know, and that's going to help you a lot more than my hand-drawn diagrams, because I can't draw very well, but well enough that you can read it, and if you can't read it, well, there's a problem, okay? But there's lots of free chord charts you can even download online too to learn chords, but you also got to learn how to read those chord charts because they're not as clear as some other ones. So, you know, that's something else that's important to know about. Now, so you've got a guitar, it's all set up, it's got the good tuners on it that are good, that I actually recommend, okay? Now, you've got your pick, you got a 38mm pick, and you're definitely sized up right. You know you're sized up right, you got that good pivoting point area. And so you can play between the main part of the hole and the bridge without any hassle. So do you need a guitar strapper right away? No, but it would be a good idea, just so that, you know, if you get up and forget, you know, you don't actually drop your guitar on the ground and destroy it. So yeah, a guitar strap would actually be a good idea. And now, the only thing with guitar straps is, don't hook them up to the nut up here. You will guaranteed ruin your guitar, okay? It will, slowly over time, pretzel, twist, shift the neck sideways, do all kinds of nasty crap over time. You will wreck your guitar, guaranteed, okay? If you don't have a second strap pin on the guitar when you buy it, if there is not one there when you are looking at it before you hand it to the tech to lower that action, ask him to put in a strap pin. Now, any good music store is going to throw that in for you for free. It's only a $2 part retail, okay? They don't pay that much cost. But they will usually throw that in for free if you request it, if it's not already on the neck or somewhere on the body. Because some guitars, they already have them pre-installed on the body, so you're good to go. But if there is no strap pin on your neck, then you need to ask for one to be put in, and in this locational area, because it's the strongest area of the neck, okay? It's the best spot. And it's also no interference whatsoever, okay? No interference. No interference, okay? And you ain't gonna be playing up this high anyways, even if there was some interference. That was gonna take you a long time before you're playing up this high, okay? But you need a proper strap setup, okay? Now, why do I say it's gonna wreck the guitar? Okay, you know what a whammy bar is? On an electric guitar, you've seen people go wow, 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 a little bar, you know? Well, what happens is when you have your strap hooked up to the nut on the neck, it puts a lot of extra pressure between the neck and the body, and I've talked about this in other videos, okay? And that pressure, when it's here, and you're trying to play, and your arm, the weight of your arm on here, plus holding the neck while you're playing, starting to move around like this and doing this, right? Well, you're going and you're pulling at your neck back and forth. Also, just sitting there with the weight of the guitar from this point to this point, all that weight is coming down on it from its own weight. Never mind the fact that it's up against your body. So as soon as you put your arm on here, now you've added more stress, okay? And you start shifting the neck up and the body down. Okay, and it can start to twist your neck into the body, and over time it's going to really warp everything bad. I don't care how expensive a guitar is, it'll do it, okay? And it doesn't matter if it's a laminated top or if it's a solid top, it's all gonna get wrecked over time, okay? But when it's hooked up in here, or it's physically hooked to the body itself, you will not have those issues and problems at all, okay? Now, we've shown you a proper size guitar for a guy my size, okay? Let me show you an improperly sized guitar. This is why size matters. Now, I also installed a secondary strap pin on this thing today. Doing things right-handed is actually really weird. Alright. Now, I finally installed the strap pin on this, so now it's safe to use the strap here. Now if I'm standing up with this thing, this is a right-handed guitar, and I'm still teaching myself right-handed, so obviously I have a plain skill difference level, right? Now, with this thing, the strap set up the way it is, and this kind of a depth, it's actually not too bad, even though it is too small for me, right? Way too small. And I can kind of deal with this, you know? I do have to hold it up higher on the neck here, right? But the problem I have, even though this isn't too bad, do you see where my arm is? Okay, where it's rotating on the body? That frickin' hurts. It's annoying as heck too, okay? It's not where the guitar should be. The guitar should be up higher, but the problem is it puts me up more forward here. I can't even get back here. The guitar is too small, okay? And when I sit down with it, now I'm too crouched over just to be able to see things and, you know, try and make sure I'm strumming where I should be. And the other problem is now I'm also more restricted in way too sloppy compared to even standing up with it hanging down lower. It's like, oh man, is there a winning combination? Yes. The right size guitar for your body, that's the winner. The wrong size, that's the loser. Okay? So, size is everything when it comes to the size of an acoustic guitar. You must have it properly sized for your body or you're going to have a hellacious time. And this is a 3/4 size guitar. Okay, this isn't much smaller than my Denver, okay, than my full-size left-handed guitar. So that, if you want more proof than that, I'm sorry. This is all the proof you get about proper size guitar. I mean, there's not much more to tell you other than facts are facts, truth is truth, visual is visual, you know. Standing up with that guitar was a little bit easier for some things, but then I lose access to this, that, or the other thing, you know. And you don't want to live your life standing up trying to play a guitar either. You need to be able to sit down from time to time. And if you sit down with a guitar that's too darn small for you to begin with, well, guess what? You're crouched over. What's that do to your spine? It hurts like a mother, okay? and you're cramped, you're restricted in arm movement too, because you're like this trying to play on something too small. Sure, guitars were only one size way back in the day. They were probably very small. But then they learned about making larger size guitars and then, oh wow, we got onto something. Light bulb. Okay, now guess what? There's a multitude of sizes and shapes and styles of acoustic guitars for a reason. Everybody's body's different. It's not just about playing styles down the road, why you pick a certain type of guitar for its sound, but in the beginning, you have to have the proper size guitar. And you will probably always want the proper size guitar when you're sitting down especially, okay? But once you've mastered the proper size guitar, okay, as far as you become a very awesome player or a very excellent player or a very good player, okay? Then you can play guitars that are smaller in size in the same hand, okay? Now I'm a left-handed player, I primarily play left. Okay, I'm teaching myself right-handed. I do have a full-size adult electric guitar, so I can actually play a hell of a lot better than what you heard, but I need to use my electric for that. But I am also going to be getting a full-sized acoustic guitar, probably the same exact one as this, but the right-handed version, because the price is great, okay? The thing is, you know, you got to have the right size. You got to have the right equipment, the right tools for the job, for the task at hand, okay? If you don't, you're yanked, plain and simple, okay? What more can I tell you about this? Probably tons more. There's lots of information, okay? But I think we pretty much covered all that sort of jazz. Now, guitar brands from music stores. Don't let them convince you to buy an expensive guitar. You don't need it. Initially, you do not. You earn those more costly guitars. Under 200 bucks, boys and girls, for this one. Well under 200 bucks, okay? Yamaha, about 169 starting price on sale, okay? They're close to 200 regular. Fenders, they usually start at around 200 bucks on sale, around that area. Now I'm talking Canadian dollars here, not American dollars, so you guys in the States, you guys get things cheaper than we do, and our dollar right now in Canada has gone, okay? But the thing is in that price category range is where you're looking at from a real music store. And don't worry about laminated tops, man, I'm serious. Nothing wrong with a laminated top. They last for a long time, and if you take care of your guitar, it'll last you a long, long, long time. Okay, but like I said before, you're not going to have your first guitar for more than a year or two, especially if your skills increase. Now, here's the thing, and I want to touch base on a couple more things before we go. You also are going to need to purchase yourself at least one of these cheap $20 stands, okay, for you guys in the States, much less. I'm not going to keep comparing currencies here, but you need one of these, okay? Make sure that when you set up the guitar in the stand, that you set the neck relief area on the stand low. Now I don't know how well you can see that, so I'm going to adjust it for you. Okay? So, you see about where it's sitting at? Oh, a little bit more. There we go. That's about where probably the max depth is for this stand. Alright? And it could actually stand to go a little bit lower if I can get it to do that, but it won't. But you can get better quality stands, certainly. But this is a good example of a decent stand that's going to get you going. So you need your guitar, you need a stand, you should have a strap, okay, more for safety than anything. But especially if you're going to stand up and play, you kind of have to have a strap. It's just not an option. You know, you're going to need a tuner, okay? I would recommend buying an extra set of strings. What brand is the best brand? There's no such thing as whatever turns your crank. I personally like Martin light gauge strings. They're a 12 gauge string. 12 gauge strings is what most commonly comes on brand new guitars, okay, for the most part. And the nuts are already pre-cut to deal with 12 gauge strings, nothing thicker. Okay, and if you put on thicker strings, you do risk the possibility of destroying your guitar once it's up into tune. Because a lot of guitars out there are still being made with only enough strength and durability even, yes, in the really frickin' expensive guitars, that they can only handle a main gauge of 12 gauge or as low as a 10. They don't do so hot with the heavier gauges, and they do self-destruct the guitars over time. Martin found this out, it was hells years ago. Now they've changed that. Now pretty much all of their guitars can handle heavier gauge strings. Alright, but we all can't afford Martin guitars either. So I would suggest, if you like the tonal range that you heard out of my guitar, Martin lights are a good way to go. Okay, if you look at my review on this Denver too, you'll hear what it sounds like with Diodario strings on it. And with the Diodarios, they are a little bit tinier of a string. So if you like a tinier sound, well, go Diodarios. But you can calm down that tin, but that means a thicker pick, which you don't want right now. You want that 0.38 millimeter pick, this Gin Dunlop pick. Okay, 0.38 millimeter. That's what you want to start with for at least your first year, until you've developed a lot of good strumming skills and patterns and using that pick and learning how to use that pick properly. Okay, you only need a gig bag or a case if you intend on traveling back and forth to, say, a teacher, unless you want to learn on YouTube for free. I got lessons. So does Marty Song, so does Will's Easy Guitar, so does Scott Groves, Dr. Groovy, and a few others, okay? Wow, hundreds of others actually. And there are a lot of other teachers up there, okay? And there are some good teachers and there are some really rotten teachers. The ones that I've just named are actually pretty good teachers, okay? And, you know, even guitar, no matter how long you're playing, you're going to learn new stuff all the time. I mean, hell, I've been playing for over 33 years now. Well, I'm in my 33rd year of knowing what I'm doing with a guitar. And even with me, I'm a rhythm guitar player by nature. You know, I'm into, you know, all this stuff. Okay, I never was taught or learned all this stuff, but I'm teaching myself that now. I have books for that, and I can comprehend and understand, you know, music theory, because I understand music theory, right? You know. But doing this sort of stuff is really different for me, you know. And I've been playing for going on 33 years now, so yeah. There's always room for improvement, but a lot of us, by the way, just because we might not be able to do this, even though we've been playing for years, okay, a lot of time in, okay, not just in time frame, but time in playing, doesn't mean we're going to be good solo players, okay, or good scale players, right? There are people that can play really awesome rhythm and lead at the same time, but a lot of people can't, right? So you may be whatever you may be, right? And that's fine, doesn't matter. No shame in not being able to do scales. It's not a necessity, okay? If you're wanting to sit here and play songs and stuff. So it just means the lead section, you don't get to hear it. Unless you have a buddy with a guitar and he can play the lead section if he knows how to play lead. But I'm slowly getting better and better at doing this stuff, right? I'm not perfect. I'm not the far most best shredder, guitar shredding god there is. I'm not even close to that. Okay, there's some guys on YouTube, oh, I can't pronounce even half their names, but talk about shredders, man. These guys kick butt, right? But we're talking electric guitars here, not acoustics, right? There's some really awesome acoustic guitar players too. But anyways, so yeah, that's pretty much about where we're at. So your shopping day is going to consist of a guitar at a real music store. You're going to have them set the action down as low as it can go without buzzing before you take it home. And that should take, you know, 1 to 3 days, depending on how low they have to set it. Most Yamahas, by the way, are set up perfect right off the rack, so you don't even have to worry about those usually. Fenders usually have to come down a bit. This one had to come down about 3 stages to get it to the lowest point. Now, I also play with and like and prefer my action at the lowest point there is. I mean, right out of the box type of deal, this thing is actually set up really good even for a beginner. You know, it's decent action. And, you know, it only needs to come down just a little, right? But I went to the extreme with it because that's where I like it and I prefer it, okay? And I've learned a lot about adjusting actions and necks on electrics and acoustics for years, so I'm very competent in doing this kind of work, you know, and it saves me a ton of money, right? But it should be a free setup fee when you buy it from a reputable music store, okay? Should be. Usually is, you know. The secondary strap pin, if it's not there, if you don't have two of them, ask them to put one in. That should also be no charge if you're buying the guitar from that store, okay? Generally it is, okay, depending on the stores. Most of them will though. You don't necessarily have to have a pick holder. I do. It's just a little accessory toy, so I keep track of my picks. You know, and buy a bunch of 0.38 mils because you can lose them. I mean, I've lost them a few times, you know. I've also handed out a ton of them to students over the years too and say, here's a real pick, right? You know, play with this for a week, then come back and see me and we'll see how much better you gotten, right? Generally they improve a lot. I've had a fair amount of people drop out too. They can't handle it or just can't do it. Now here's the last and final piece of advice I'm going to give you and then we're out of here, okay? Whether you start out left-handed on a guitar or right-handed, okay? It's your choice. The only real way to figure it out is get yourself sized first, okay? Because left or right, you're going to be playing the same size guitar. Mute the strings, or actually even better yet, just get the guy to show you how to do a D chord even, okay? Just 1, 2, 3, 4, 1, 2, 3, 4. Okay, if you can do that and it's comfy, do 1 and 2 and 3 and 4. 1 and 2 and 3 and 4 and 1 and 2, 3 and 4 and okay. Now grab a right-handed guitar if you started with a left one and do the same thing and see how well you can do that and how comfortable it is to do it, how comfortable it is to sit, because right now this is a left-handed guitar. It sits on my left leg. I strum with my left hand, I chord with my right hand. When you play a right-handed guitar, the guitar will rest on your right leg, you will strum with your right arm, you will chord with your left hand. Now even though these are the wrong chord here, this is upside down. Okay? So, see how it feels. Now, start with whichever one feels the most comfortable, but as long as the guitar is the right size and you've got this pivoting point thing going on, alright, good proper pivoting point positioning, you got movement in your arm, you're not being pinched or bound, the guitar's up against your body good, and you're sitting with your back straight, okay? Do that for 6 months. Now, within that 6 months, you must dedicate all the time you possibly can once your fingers are broken in, which shouldn't take more than 2 weeks. No death grips on the necks. Now, I don't care how good they set it up, don't death grip the neck, because that's going to hurt your fingers a lot, and it will actually put you off from being able to play for a couple of days, which bites into your time, okay? So, if the guitar is done right, you should barely have to put any pressure. It'll be mild pain, mild discomfort levels, okay? And you should be able to go at it every day, and after about 2 weeks of 10 to 15 minutes a day, every single day, okay? Then up the ante to a half an hour a day, okay? And learn the materials, whether you're learning on YouTube or whether you're, you know, learning how to read chord charts and learning the chords that way, you know, A, C, D, E, F, okay? Whichever. However you're going to learn, with a teacher or with YouTube teachers, okay, whatever you're going to learn with, get taught. Either one-to-one or on the internet, okay? Learn, practice what you're learning, okay? But what you don't want to be trying to learn right away are songs, because you won't do it. You can't do it. It's just not done. You don't just jump on a guitar and jump into songs. You need to learn 1, 2, and 3, and 4, and 1, and 2, and 3, and 4, and 1, 2, 3, 4, 1, 2, 3, 4, 1, 2, 3, 4, 1, 2, 3, 4, 1, 2, 3, 4, 1, 2, 3, 4. You need to learn strumming techniques. You need to learn to swap chords. Okay, so learn A, B, C, D, E, F, G. okay? All your major chords. Don't worry about minors yet. Learn your majors. Because even with G, C, and D, these are your majors. G, C, D. Learn that set of G, C, and D down at the lower end of the neck. Learn that. And there's millions of songs out there, but you need to learn to switch the chords quickly. A lot of songs will have some chords in it that you're not ready for, so you won't be able to play the songs anyhow. But you'll be able to play anything with G, C, and D in it if you learn G, C, and D. Okay? You'll be able to play it once you learn the rhythms for those. You know, because some rhythms, you know, will be like, okay. So you've got to learn those rhythms and those timings, okay? That takes time. But you got to learn chords, you got to learn strumming. Learning how to strum is not necessarily the easiest thing in the world. Just because you got all the tools right now doesn't make you a guitar player, okay? It makes you well prepared with the right tools. Now you got to get to it and put 6 months into it. After 2 weeks, half an hour a day every single day for a month. Following month, push it up to an hour a day or an hour and a half a day. You should be able to do 2 hours a day, especially if you're a kid. You got no responsibilities, right? So you know what? What comes first? Chumming with your friends after school, or going home and practicing your guitar and becoming a guitar player, or seeing if you can become a guitar player? Now, if you're an adult and you're working, of course, you're only going to probably get about an hour a day, you know, but you'll squeeze it in somewhere, okay? I mean, if you get up a little earlier in the morning, spend a few minutes there or half an hour. You know, get up extra early. You know, before you go to bed at night, spend another half an hour. Either way, you can get an hour a day in. There is no excuse for anybody not to be able to get an hour a day in, you know, once your fingers are broken in. And if you put in an hour a day every single day after 6 months, you cannot get the hang of whatever guitar you chose for left or right-handed. At that time, I would suggest that you put that guitar aside on the shelf, and you go to the store, you buy another guitar of the opposite hand, because you cannot switch these things around without destroying the guitars, okay? And they will destroy very quickly. Been there, done that, okay? Many times. And then I finally just gave in and spent money and bought a real left-handed guitar at that point. So, if you have to make the switch, and you've put in that 6 months of dedication and discipline and playing your heart out and trying to learn this thing, you can't do it in the one style, try the opposite style, because it doesn't matter what hand you're dominant with, it's which way you're going to be able to play guitar. Now, if you still can't do that, and then you definitely got a problem. Then you definitely are not a guitar player, because within a year, I'm telling you right now, even within 6 months, if you have guitar in you and the capabilities in your DNA to do this, in 6 months of good dedication and proper discipline of doing this stuff and doing it right, you will be a pretty decent player, okay, within 6 months. Okay, within a year, you can go even further, okay? And within 2 years, even further and further, okay? So, do that, try that out, see how it goes. And if it turns out in the end that you can't play left-handed or right-handed, well then guess what? You get the wrong guitar, okay? Now another thing, one last and final thing, I know I already said that. When it comes to the necks on your guitars, now I've got, you know, good sized mitts, but take your thumb and your first finger, start at the bottom part of the neck. Now if you can go all the way to the end and nothing separates, that's generally a good sized neck, okay, for you to work with. Now if you got really long piano fingers, well, I don't think there is going to be a big enough acoustic neck out there to really make you get restricted, but you know, for the rest of the general population who do not have extremely long fingers, that would be the test that I would do to see if the neck diameter is going to be good for you or not, okay? Because it's not just about being able to do a chord, you got to do the chords properly. And you also have to do proper curvature. I'm not talking about that today. Watch my videos and you'll learn all about that stuff, okay? catch you guys on the next video.